second thing that wealthy people teach their kids that regular people don't is they teach their kids that every dollar is supposed to be working for you. That when you have money, money is not just something to be spent. Money is something to be put to work. If your money's working for you, then you don't have to work. And if you have enough dollar bills working for you, your dollar bills can do more for you than you ever could. So, for example, a lot of you know little things like how to sell stock options, for example. And I was explaining to a good friend of mine who has lots of money. I said, yeah, if you want to make money, I said, here's something you could probably do that wouldn't even require a lot of risk. I said, if you went out and you bought like, because you're sitting on so much money, if you bought yourself like a couple thousand shares of Nvidia stock, you could sell that option that expires on January 2nd, 1 month from now. And you could pick a strike price that's reasonable, and you can make $8,600 a month just from selling your stock option, and you don't have to do anything. And he was kind of floored by it. And he said, "You mean I don't have to gamble?" I said, "Well, no. I mean, risk is everywhere, but you don't have to uh, do crazy stuff, because you've got a capital base." The reason that it's important to get a capital base is because that's like in when you were little and you played tag and you knew what it meant to get to home base. When you got to home base, you were safe. Well, you're also safe when you get a capital base. When you get a capital base, you are at home base because you are economically safe to some extent. And at that point, your goal is wealth preservation, and wealth preservation becomes extremely important because you want to avoid all the temptations that will pull you out of your place of security. Like one example would be like I saw someone that did a contrast between the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts. The Vanderbilts and Rockefellers were both loaded and extremely rich over 100 years ago. The Vanderbilts saw their security as an opportunity to be wasteful and irresponsible and sloppy. They were like, oh, hey, we got plenty of margin of error, so we can make a lot of errors, right? And so they're like, we got plenty of money, so we can spend lots of money. And that's a trap. That's a trap a lot of people fall into. It's a trap made by the devil himself. And you see that happen with a lot of artists and things where they'll brag about how much money they have and how that means they can spend a lot of money. Well, the Vanderbilts went broke. The Vanderbilts, they had 10 mansions. They had gigantic, like 80,000 square foot mansions in the middle of New York City or something ridiculous like that. Like these massive houses that were as big as city buildings, and they took up entire blocks. And they lost every mansion, they lost all their assets and all their resources, and now it's just a name. That's all it is. It's a university, the Vanderbilt University, stuff like that. They actually beat University of Tennessee this weekend, which was weird. I grew up watching Tennessee pummel Vanderbilt every year, so to see Vandy beat Tennessee was pretty interesting. But anyway, with that said, you have the Rockefellers. Though the Rockefellers, their number one goal was to think about wealth preservation. They spent a lot of time thinking about the family trust, setting rules and parameters for how you were going to use their money. They were not going to let you go out and blow their money like a sucker. They were not going to let you go out here and just trick off their money at the strip club. They are very, very particular about how that wealth is preserved because they understood that the job of that wealth was to preserve those resources for the next generation. That was it. Like there was no job more important than that one. And the idea that people sort of overlook that and the people don't think that that's important is very scary and very sad.